And here now is Republican Congressman Brad Knott of North Carolina, who sits on the House Homeland Security and Judiciary Committees. We want to thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you because we want to ask you about, Putin's first trip to the U.S. in nearly 10 years. So we're watching that mark in that timeline. How do you expect this meeting to go? What are you hearing?
My hat is off to the president for getting this meeting done. I mean, we've seen the president secure peace deal after peace deal around the world, and he's been very clear from the start. He wants this conflict to end. He's a tough negotiator, and I expect him to look out for America's interests in this meeting.
It's going to be very interesting. Of course, we're watching and following it at all. I also want to ask you about the Trump administration and the ramping up of the immigration efforts with the announcement of an expanded detention center called the Speedway Slammer in Indiana. This is another story that we're looking into. However, Alligator Alcatraz in Florida is already facing legal pushback with construction halted as attorneys argue whether it violates environmental law. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. We see the headlines, and some people say it sounds like a good idea. Others will say, wait a minute. And now you've got all of the behind the scenes lawsuits going on. So are there constitutional rights violations going on here? And another question, is the Trump administration moving too quickly?
No, there are no constitutional issues that are being raised. What we're seeing here is that the Democrats are using every ounce of their power to essentially remove any restriction to immigration, legal or illegal. We saw that very clearly with Joe Biden. They recruited people from around the world and facilitated them to be transported all over our country. And now that the president has said, if you are here illegally, you need to either self-deport or face the consequences, they are taking the side of the illegal immigrants. I mean, looking at Secretary Noem in her presentation in Chicago, there was enough drugs on the table in front of her to kill millions of Americans. And the Democrats are not assisting her to remove that contraband or the people who brought that contraband into the country. There's no constitutional issues here. This is just Democrat obstruction to a very worthwhile goal.
Yeah, we're going to see how these two things play out. And of course, there's going to be more to go on that front. While I have you, I want to ask you about the self-described Democratic Socialist New York City mayoral candidate, Zohran Mamdani, who was speaking in a one-on-one interview to our sister station, Pix 11, actually happened right down the hall from where I'm sitting here in New York. He talked about the race and who he thinks is his real opponent in all of this. I want you to take a listen with me.
Who do you see as your real primary challenger going to November?
Donald Trump. In many ways we have a number of different candidates, but three of them are Donald Trump's candidates. We have one that he is currently coordinating with in former Governor Andrew Cuomo, another that he's functionally bailed out of legal trouble in Mayor Eric Adams, and then another, Curtis Sliwa, who belongs to the same party as him, the Republican Party. And what we're seeing right now is that our president is currently investigating the option of interfering with this election, always working backwards from how best he could stop our campaign.
I don't know. What do you think? Is he right?
It's unbelievable. And, I think in some ways he is correct insofar as he is a radical anti-Semitic Islamist who has preached not only communism, but religious extremism. He is a radical candidate that really is. He's the end that the Democratic Party is seeking to arrive at all over the country. And you have, Make America Great Again. You have traditional conservatism. And then you've got Mr. Mamdani. And he is sort of becoming the mainline Democrat around the country. And he's one of the main reasons, the ideology that he represents is one of the main reasons I'm in this race. I've jumped into Congress. And I think Americans are waking up. We do not want a radically left government. And that's where the Democratic Party is, unfortunately.
And also, President Trump is announcing that he will be addressing violent crime in Washington, D.C. on Monday. This after he increased federal law enforcement in the area. But, overall violent crime, when you take a look at the stats, it's down year to date. So, while this is temporary, Trump has suggested that making federal presence permanent or possibly bringing in the National Guard. Some people are hailing this as a great idea. Other people are saying it's an overreach. What do you think?
Well, you've got 4 years of the Biden White House, and they did not prioritize policing, even in the nation's capital. There is rampant drug use, rampant crime. Police have been focused on DEI rather than protecting American citizens. And when that happens, it's not surprising that crime skyrockets. The president just wants Washington, D.C. to be safe. And that's what he's determined to do. And I welcome his efforts because Washington, D.C. is not safe. I've seen it firsthand, and we need change there.
How do you think, when did it start getting so dangerous? I mean, Washington, D.C. has had problems through the years, but we just continue to hear this uptick. I'm just wondering, did you start noticing a difference when you have visited there, when you've been there?
You know, I started to notice a difference when I went to Washington after President Trump left office. You had COVID, you had a surge of immigration, you had a surge of drug use, and Washington, D.C. lost the sort of the appeal that it had. It was a vibrant place, and the public safety went away. The open air drug markets came in, and you didn't see kids playing in the streets. You didn't see people walking or biking. And so really around 2021, 22 is when I saw it in earnest, in a bad way change.
Interesting. All right. Well, thank you for that timeline. I was just curious what you thought about that. And also, while I have you, I've got to ask you about tariffs because I want to switch to President Trump warning that a court ruling against his tariff plan could actually trigger a Great Depression. He made this in a Truth Social post, so we're watching that. Right now, the markets seem to be responding well to the plan that went into effect on Thursday. However, we're also taking a look at the Yale Budget Lab, warning that prices could go up, costing the average household about $2,400 a year. And when you say that to an average American, $2,400 a year, that is a lot. That is a big hit. What do you say to somebody who can't afford that?
Well, you know, it's interesting. There was a study that came out that showed the average American's take-home pay, their expendable income, went up by several $1,000s during the first Trump administration. It went up by less than $500 during the Biden administration. What President Trump is trying to do is to make the economy robust. And there are several goals that he has with tariffs. And he has told me directly, he wants a free and open market. And the United States has been victimized by other countries by precluding us from engaging in their markets. And President Trump is a pragmatist. He wants the good deals. He is working on good deals, and he wants prices to come down. Prices are coming down. He's fighting for a robust American economy, and I think we're 200 days in. Let's give it time and see where it lands. But right now, again, wages are going up, prices have come down, and I expect that to continue.
All right. I appreciate your perspective. Republican Congressman Brad Knott of North Carolina will have Dems coming up later in the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.